There's no free late for you. Took a bad year.
Those microphones pick up everything, right? Microphones pick up everything. Yeah.
What's the count? What's the first trip?
Park City.
Okay. So
Right.
I've been saying that for years. See, I just don't understand. I've grown up in Chicago. And that happened. Ice and wind, snow, hills that I fought to death. I purposely put myself on two slick sticks. To go down.
I used to say that, but then I was really small and it was like shaking. It was just like speed.
I get it. Maybe I'd snow.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. We are going to call this meeting of the Lewisville City Council to order, and we do have a quorum. I do want to make two brief informational points. Number one, Councilwoman Cade has had direct exposure through a family member and has COVID. She is unable to attend this evening, but she does send her regards. She's doing fine, but nothing like having the COVID right now. The other bit is that just a quick reminder, if you're sitting in this room, you are being heard by the public. That is how sensitive our lovely new microphones are. They are really awesome, but you're being heard by the public. So side comments, just letting you know. With that, we're going to move right into our workshop session. And I think we have Chief Deaver here to give us are we going to go through? Let's go through consent first. Let's get that done. I'm not going to take consent line item by line item today. Let's just go ahead. If there's anything any council wants to take off of the consent agenda, let me know now.
The only thing you might consider on consent is if former Mayor Bill Weaver is going to be present, James. What do you know? So that might be something to pull off consent.
Super. We'll keep an eye out for that. That's consent agenda. Anything else on the public hearings?
I will have a presentation on the first public hearing. The only public hearing.
And I think anything on the regular hearings? And we do have economic development for
Yes,
closed
sir.
session, but that is the only one of the three for this evening for closed session.
Correct.
All right. Hearing no comments or need to pull anything from council, we'll go ahead and get started with the overview of our gang unit police response to homelessness. We've got Police Chief Kevin Deaver here to give us the presentation, and of course we have a tremendous amount of backup. So Chief, I'm feeling like you're ready.
They're here for my back. Thank you, Council and Mayor, for allowing us to be here tonight. Give you all an update on our gang enforcement. We did this previously, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, so we're going to revisit that as well as the homeless issues. So I've got two officers, Officer Robert Lamone and Officer Ezekiel Villavaza, and they'll go through the gang stuff, and then we'll transition with Officer Greg Hopper with homeless. And they're not nervous at all about being here.
He's a little bit nervous. I'm Detective Limon. I've been with the Louisville gang unit for about 13 years now. So I've been with Louisville for about 15. And everything you're going to see here is part of our gang unit slides and pictures that we've actually taken. So everything's here local.
All right, so the state of Texas considers anybody that's a criminal street gang means 3 or more having a common identifying sign or symbol or identifiable leadership who continuously or regularly associate in the commission of criminal activity. So this is the way we document our gang members. Every city is required to document or have some sort of database in order. If you have 100,000 or more, you're supposed to have a database where you can document these gang members so that other agencies can know whether you're dealing with a gang member in different parts of the state. The database that we use is TextGang, and other agencies use that as well. And so we can see whenever we deal with a gang member from Richardson, Irving, Dallas, or any other places like that.
And when you get documented as a gang member, as an adult, you stay on the gang list for 5 years, and a juvenile, you stay on the gang list for 2 years. After that time comes up, you automatically get dropped off the gang list, unless you get revalidated, and then your time starts over again.
So when you document them as a gang member, they don't necessarily live in Louisville, right? You've had contact with them in Louisville?
Have contact them in Louisville. Honestly, we don't know where exactly they live, because most of the time they don't tell us the correct addresses anyways. You know, some of them that are repeat offenders, yes, they live in Louisville because we constantly have contact with them. Others maybe just passing by, associated with somebody else, or just, you know, got stopped for some reason or another here
The
in Louisville.
numbers that the council will see, those aren't people that necessarily live in Louisville.
I mean, those are the people that we've documented here in Louisville. Now, whether they live here or not, I couldn't tell you.
And you'll note that not all agencies use TextGang for the database. We are one of them that use it. They were saying that Dallas is just now starting to use TextGang. So there's only 565 agencies in the state of Texas that use TextGang. So it does make information sharing somewhat difficult.
Now, Dallas is dropping big chunks of their gang members into the database. So every time they have a dump like that, we automatically get all that information onto TextGang.
So this is how we, this is our gang criteria for what we need to document a gang member. It could be if he admits to us during a stop, or while we visited, while we talked to him in jail, if we have any questions. If he tells us, yeah, I'm a blood gang member, or I'm a Sureño, or that alone isn't enough for us to document him. He has to have tattoos. He has to have associations with other gang members. He has to be arrested for a gang crime with other gang members. Throwing up gang signs on social media. A lot of these times we'll go on social media and we'll look for these gang members, and we'll see if they're wearing any certain colors, if they're throwing up gang signs, if they have any hidden tattoos that we didn't see when we were out with them. So this is the number starting from 2010 these are the numbers of how many gang members we documented that year. 2010, I think, is when we started using TextGang. So that's why, as you can see, there are the numbers.
These are some of our gangs that we actually have in Louisville. Our biggest ones are Southside, Tango Blast, Bloods, Norteños, but we have all sorts of gangs here in Louisville. I think currently we have over 27 gangs.
I thought I left the Gangster Disciples in Chicago.
Gangster Disciples.
We have a lot of gangster disciples that are from
from
Chicago,
Chicago.
and they could be either visiting or they finally or whatever the case may be for that.
Maybe it's a franchise.
So this is how we obtain our intel. We, like I said, we have social media accounts that we can search for gang members, school personnel, whether it's teachers, SROs, NROs, police patrol officers who either make stops or go on calls and they see either how somebody's dressed, their tattoos, graffiti around the city. We'll have confidential informants that come and talk to us and give us intel, and just the community, people telling us, hey, we see a group of people hanging out over here. So Ramon and I or other officers will go and try and make contact with them.
We do have zero enforcement. I mean, we try to stick to that as much as we can, but there's only 2 of us right currently, and so we're constantly trying to change up our hours, different hours and everything, in order so we can identify all the hot spots that we get flared up in the city.
And zero tolerance, that means they don't get a break. They get either a citation or arrested for whatever offense they may have.
That's another documented gang member.
So that's zero tolerance in the field, right, at the point of contact, right?
Yes.
So then the judicial system kicks in, and however the rules are set up that side.
That is correct. These are some of the crimes that actually commit DWI. Of course, one of the biggest drug offenses, weapons, theft, you name it, and they're involved in a lot of crimes. We work closely with our narcotics unit just because a lot of narcotics are tied into gangs in some way or another. This is what happens sometimes when we get houses that are out for sale or something like that. People, break into the back and they'll have gang parties inside. Some of the pictures that our patrol officers take while they're out in the field, gang members actually indicating that he's Tango Blast with his hand signs. Officer didn't know what it was. He reached out to us and asked us what it meant. We're like, he's telling you that he's Tango Blast, prison gang member. Some of our local gang members here, there are Norteños throwing up the letter N and number 4, indicating his north side. Some of the weapons that we've actually seen on social media, we've actually taken off some of our gang members here locally. We take up a lot of guns off of gang members. These are some of our blood gang members. A lot of the blood gang members have come over from Louisiana. So we got like Bounty Hunter Bloods, Tamu, we have 5'9", East Ward. We try to take pictures of all their tattoos when we make contact with them, just so we can keep up with every single tattoo that they have, and so in order so we can identify them. Some of these tats are gang-related tats.
When you say they're gang related, what do they symbolize? What do they mean? Is it like a merit badge or what?
Sort of, it just indicates what gang they're involved in. The 5-pointed star, he's indicating that he's a blood gang member. The paw print, he's a gang member for the Damu Bloods. Some of them will have Pyru tatted on them for a Pyru blood. Some of the others.
So this is a gangster disciple. He has a 6-point star. This is Star David, and their gang sign is usually a pitchfork, which that's a tattoo that's right here, just going up with his hand sign. And some more, you'll see 6-point stars all throughout, and you'll have like GD for gangster disciple.
But a lot of them won't admit to their gang members because they know we go after them. So like this one, he'll say he's growth and development instead of gangster disciple. Puro Tango Blast is one of our more violent prison gangs that are in the area. And they'll usually have a PTB tatted on them, a star and the symbol of what city they're from. That's a star indicated with a 214, indicating he's a Tango Blast Dallas. PTB on there with the helmet of the Dallas Cowboys in case he's from Dallas. This one is actually tatted. If you look it up from top down, it says Tango. And if you look at it from bottom up, it says Blast. On his shoulders, he has 214 PTB, indicating that he's Tango Blast Dallas. Blast. He also has it tatted on his neck with a star of the Dallas Cowboys, indicating he's Tango Blast Dallas. We do have Aryan Brotherhood, Pepper Woods, and Aryan Circles also in here. They have some of their tats a little bit hidden. If you see the eyes over here, you'll see the lightning bolts on them. The Woody Woodpecker is really good for them for the Aryan Brotherhood. For the Peckerwoods, they'll hide it and mask it up as their tat.
Are most of these prison tattoos, or do they get them on the street?
Just depends. Peckerwoods are going to be more prison, and Tango Blast is going to be more prison, but they also claim it once they hit the streets. You'll have numbers also that we keep track of. This guy, the number 14, actually comes from a book, and it says we must secure the existence of our people and the future of our white children. In 88, if it's not for Dale Earnhardt, it's going to be for Heil Hitler. So. Banditos, we also have motorcycle outlaw gangs here. Usually the motorcycle outlaw gangs, they'll fly the 1% diamond on them, okay? Which back in the 60s, somewhere around there was a report saying that not all bikers are actually outlaw motorcycle gangs, that only 1% of them are. And they actually claimed that, saying that we're the 1% that you have to be scared of. We actually deal with the banditos quite often here. Get a bunch of weapons off of them and some drugs.
Is that when flying a Denton flag?
It is.
Chapter.
He used to be a
He's the
Fort
president.
Ward, Fort Ward chapter, then he became one of the sergeant at arms over here in Denton, then he became president. Now I think he just
He
retired.
can't ride his motorcycle anymore.
As you can see, we try to keep up with them pretty often. This is some of their patchworks. This is Dallas, what was the Dallas chapter president. But they have a hangout spot over here. Usually once a year, a whole bunch of them come into town, and we keep track. And some of the patches that indicate some of the other clubs that he's been into. Back in the day when Waco happened, they were recruiting a lot of people and they were giving them rank as soon as they got into the game. These are the colors that they have, the gold and red. Some of the motorcycles you'll see around town. Now these are some of the support clubs. They mix up the colors on the opposite way. Some of the support clubs also here in town, and they're also considered gang members when they start doing crimes with them and everything. Manny's one of the
only
bandito that was killed in Waco. A lot of our Denton County banditos were actually involved in Waco. Kim Folk was one of their biggest rival. Kim Folk is, like I said, they're different colors. They still claim the 1% diamond. That's their patch. Now, some of the offenses that we get, some of the drugs that we get, you know, dealing with some of the gang members and our narcotics staff. Again, like I said, we do get a lot of weapons off of them. And a lot of money. These are some of the grow houses that we found, some of the.
This was actually just a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago.
These are THC vape pens, carts that we get off of them.
Yeah, a lot of the people nowadays with vape pens everywhere, you'll see someone with a vape pen and there's a probable chance that there may be THC in it and they're just wide open using it because there's no way to detect it.
Again, we deal with a lot of gang members with guns and money. And that's our information. Let's speed it up, so we're trying to get it fast for y'all. So,
Y'all
Yeah,
have
any
any
questions?
questions for anyone?
I think the biggest question I would have, and I think most of the community would have, was what are we seeing as far as the numbers go? I mean, you hear about stuff in the media and it takes the small incidents and really puts them out there. So my question would be, I think, more of, you know, what are our numbers looking like in the city? What are we doing to adjust as those change? You know, because I know you guys are on top of it. So that's really, I think, more what I'd be interested.
I've been in the gang unit for 13 years. The numbers has always climbed. The only time it decreased is when we switched over into text gang, and we had to drop a lot of people off because of the criteria for text gang.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, it's not massively, but it's always been on the rise. And again, I think it's because a lot of people move away from Dallas and want to come to the suburbs. You know,
It doesn't hurt that we're right on I-35 either.
yeah, that brings a lot.
And one thing that we did internally was we kind of combined the gang unit with our street crimes unit. As these guys mentioned before, these gang members are involved in drugs, robberies, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what the street crimes unit focuses on. If we have a string of robberies at convenience stores, they will go do surveillance on the convenience stores to try to catch them in the act. So a lot of information sharing, I guess, between the units. So we kind of molded them into one unit.
And anytime we have really big crimes committed by gang members, We also try to use our federal partners with HSI, DEA, or US Marshals in order to take up the crimes federally.
Do we have any areas where any of them are concentrated in the city?
Honestly, they're everywhere. The only reason you get a large concentration is because of apartment buildings and things like that. Other than that, I mean, anywhere you want inside the city, you're gonna find a gang member. It's just not as much as the apartment complexes and
It's
the
proportional
hotels.
to population is what I hear you saying.
Yes.
And these guys are attached in a sense to HSI. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I am attached to HSI and their gang task force, and Easy and the rest of the guys are attached to US Marshals Task Force for major crimes. We deal with them a lot. HSI there for a while was very active picking up gang members. Now not so much, but it just goes up and down, you know. But anytime we do have a major crime with weapons or drugs or anything like that we can take federally, we use them in order to go ahead and take it federally.
Most of our firearm cases will go through HSI, and then they kind of take over the case.
Yeah, when we can do things federally, we try to do it. If they have a firearm, that's a minimum 10 years, I believe.
It's 4 years minimum federally, but most of them have such an extensive criminal record that it goes up to 20, 25. A couple of guys that you saw here are serving sentences for like 25, 30 years.
And HSI is Homeland Security and Investigations.
Any other questions?
I noticed there was a spike on your chart in 2015. Was there any reason for that?
Yeah, I got on the unit.
He said the same thing behind it.
Part of 1 minute, but I was
He was waiting on that question. And when it dropped, he was so.
When it started dropping, I started having kids. So
And it's funny as that is, there is truth to that. The more policing you do,
Yes.
the more the
The
numbers.
more-
And I think that has a lot to do with the officers being proactive, and you're gonna make more contacts with individuals, and if you have more proactive police officers, they're just bound to deal with it.
Even during COVID, we didn't slow down. You know, a lot of officers did slow down, but we did not. We kept constantly arresting people for gang offenses and weapons and drugs. You know, we wouldn't slow down at all. And at that point, we actually got moved over to patrol at that point, just to help out the patrol units.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Good job.
Thank you.
So Officer Greg Hopper, some of you have met him before or been to one of his presentations. He's in the Neighborhood Resource Officer Unit, and he's going to walk you through the homeless issues.
Good evening. Again, I'm Officer Hopper, Neighborhood Resource Officer. Wear a lot of different hats, crisis negotiator, hostage negotiator, and homeless coordinator. Right along. This year, we are going to be pleasantly surprised. Those of you who have businesses in the community will hopefully realize Old Town especially is a lot quieter this year than it was last year. We've got over 254 homeless that we've contacted, or I've contacted, that I monitor over the last 5 years. That's up from the 202 in 2020. And I underline, this is not how many is currently in the city. This is just how many over the years that I've kept in contact with or monitor or try to monitor. Okay. Some may be regular, some are transit, some are intermittent. Approximately 150, which is, depending on how you look at it as a good thing. We haven't had contact with over 150 of them though, which is good. They're declining numbers. We'll go over why here in a minute, which is an improvement. If I'm not seeing them basically in the woods or in the street in a camp, a lot of them, I'll just throw it in here. A lot of them we've gotten off the street because being the coordinator, just a little background, when I meet somebody, I try to go on all these calls that a homeless person may be involved. If I don't see it, my dispatcher knows to call me. So even if another patrol guy or girl is handling the call, when they're done, I'll take over to try to provide resources for this person to find out why they were homeless in the first place, how we can help them and get off the street. So we want to get them off the street, and we don't have to keep dealing with them on police-related calls or in crisis. How do we mitigate that? Okay. So when I make contact with them, that's one of the things I do, and I try to make contact with all the homeless that I can. Now, what the good news is, we're down to approximately 10 to 25 homeless in Lewisville at any time. Okay, we still get transient folks. Can't really control that. Just people, we'll call people passing through. Now, at any given time, we've really reduced that number a lot. Approximately, well, not just us, but between us and the county and grants and people, you know, with services, it's helped out immensely. And when I make contact with these folks, just to throw it in there, it's just not, hey, this resource is available. I try to, and again, this is all strictly voluntarily. None of this is, we can't make them do any of this. But I built up a rapport with all these folks, and it does help. I get to know, hey, who, if something were to happen to you, because sometimes we got to protect the homeless from other homeless, right? Especially, you know, so especially the transit ones. So I find out, hey, if something were to happen, who's your next of kin? You know, mom, dad, husband, wife, or kids, or something, emergency contact, that kind of stuff. And I go out and I check on them in their various areas or whatever's going on, so I monitor them. Multiple times I've come across them in a bad way where I had to call an ambulance, okay, just because I knew where they were. Nobody else, they would have, to be honest, they would have just died where they're at because nobody would have even known. So there's all kinds of benefits of monitoring where they're at and trying to get them help, okay? But a lot of them we have gotten help through those contacts. Their parents call me, okay? And out of respect, I don't want to name their names, but I stay in touch with a lot of them's parents because if y'all got kids, you don't want your kids on the street. So as long as I've got proactive parents, I have somebody to call going, hey, they're willing to come home. If they come home for a few days at a time or a week, that's success. Because the longer they are off the street, I've got some now that have been off the street for quite a while. And so it might be another success story just recently. So that's a kind of a feel good. Anyway, approximately 90% of the homeless accept our community resource book. And that's about a 12-page book with 2 columns on each side that has nothing but resources that we've accumulated over the years. We've got so many resources in the county now, we can't possibly remember them all. And I got tired of having to look them up on the internet and write about. So we just compiled this list. And instead of me playing I got a secret, we publish it to all the officers as well so they can print it out and hand it to the individuals, or I'll go over with the homeless individual. Hey, mental health, man, I've got all kinds of, what do you need? You know, drug rehab, alcohol rehab, mental health. And we just circle all these resources. You know, they call these people first. Call, hey, you need food? You need a shower, Salvation Army, you know, this kind of stuff. You need shelter? Hey, I've got whatever you need, we have it. And that way they get that handout while they're at it. Now, what I like doing, though, is making a referral. We're up to about 80% that lets us make a referral. And all that is, and it'll make sense when I tell you, is a lot of times you just go, hey, here's a pamphlet, here's all the resources you need. Well, right now they're willing to do it. But then they change their mind tomorrow. If I do a referral, and again, it's all strictly voluntarily, but if they let me give that source their name, phone number, or where they're going to be, then that resource will continue reaching out to them, knowing, you know, they need help. And it's a lot more successful if we get it done that way. All right. It's just proven to be more successful. It's proactive both directions. Approximately 50% actually follow up with the referral. So even though I may make a referral, they may make an appointment. Sometimes they won't go to the appointment for various reasons. Okay. But a lot of times these resources, I've been here long enough and I know that the folks that actually do the good in the county, and I've known them for enough years when we actually have each other's personal mobiles. That's how much we interact. And they'll call me, and I'll call them. They'll call me and go, hey, Greg, you know, this individual had an appointment today and they didn't show up. Could you see, you know, go check on them and see if you can get them back? And we do that, and vice versa. And luckily, our chief and our sergeants are very accommodating, knowing that if somebody's like such a drug addict and they're ready to go to drug rehab, if you don't get them in right then, they're going to binge tonight and they won't go tomorrow. So they've allowed us, we're not taking them to Walmart to go shopping, okay? But they'll let me load them up and take them right to that resource right then while they're in that mood before they change their mind. And that is one of the most successful things we've done. And again, many of them just simply forget about their appointments. Okay, due to either mental illness or they just lost interest. And we're down, luckily, to about 10% that are long-term homeless. And they literally, and I know this is hard to believe, but we actually have folks that have been homeless so long that it's their way of life, and They tell me straight up, I've known some of these guys for 15, 20 years now. And they're like, hey, yeah, I'm good. I have no rules. I have nobody bothered me. I'm happily content. It's a shocker, but they're really like that. About 80% have admitted to or believed, the reason we say believe, because not everybody has been officially diagnosed as having a mental illness, but about 80% have believed that. And some of it could be because of doing drugs so long. You get that mush brain or all kinds of different things that induce, a type of or a form of mental illness. 95% still have a history of drug and alcohol addiction. They either can't or won't stop. Okay. And most have been involved or associated with some kind of local criminal activity, whether it be minor or all the way up to felonies. Old Town was quiet for the longest time, and for the businesses around here, we had one guy. All the locals knew his name. I'm not going to say it, but everybody knew him. And he was for being homeless, he was a kind of a nice guy, except he liked to burglarize buildings. Not very nice when you do that, right? So he ended up having to go to jail, and Old Town went back to crickets again. Okay, but one person can cause a lot of havoc. And if you own a business in Louisville, you do that. And we're always respectful to the homeless. It doesn't matter. We treat them just like we want somebody to treat our own family, because they are somebody's family, right? But we still have to hold them accountable, and they know that. Okay. Some of the key elements, and absolutely number one, and I'll say this till the day I die. If we don't treat the drug, alcohol, mental illness, it doesn't matter. I can get them jobs, I can get them clothing, I can get them showers. But the thing is, they're not going to keep that job. They're not going to keep paying the rent if they go out and they start doing the drugs again, because then they miss their job, they get fired, and the cycle just starts all over again. I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit here, but all the resources we have, we have finally, not finally, but it's just like a lot of resources, the whole county is really on board now with shared resources, shared knowledge bases and stuff like that. We now have all the county mental health, whether it be Mayhill, UBH, MHMR, and all the county police departments getting together. We just had a meeting last Friday? Yeah, to where it's easy as a police officer, right? Like say the gang guys. You break the law, you have weapons, it's easy to make an arrest because, they broke the law, right? A lot of these folks are self-destructive, but we're not catching them with the dope. You know what I mean? They may be doing it 1 a.m. when everybody's, in the woods somewhere isolated. The hard part about this is getting somebody into rehab. I can't make any of y'all go to drug rehab, right? Well, now we have dedicated resources, and it's not a crisis. That's the hard part. If it's a crisis, if you're suicidal, want to kill yourself, and you've got a plan, and you're going to actively, that's easy to deal with because we have a duty to protect you from yourself, right? So I can take you into protective custody to get you evaluated. However, if you're slowly killing yourself with alcohol or slowly killing yourself with drug use, okay, it's a lot harder. Okay, but now we have dedicated folks that's not crisis, that are strictly, drug rehab, alcohol rehab, that I can call directly now on the phone. And that's just from the collaboration that the county, it's not a Louisville thing, it's a county thing that, hey, we've got a lot of mental illness. We've got a lot of drug. We've got a lot of alcohol abuse. So that's all over everywhere. It's not even Texas isolated. It's everywhere, right? But we finally have resources that can address this key element right here. If I can get everybody off the drugs and off the alcohol, it's easy to keep a job. Everybody's hired right now, right? But they don't want somebody showing up high or drunk or whatever, okay? So anyway, and then all the rest of this stuff, we actually help these folks do all this stuff. I've worked out with the hospital. I've got to work out with police records. A lot of people don't know this because you're law-abiding folks. A lot of homeless lose their driver's license. They lose their Social Security card. They lose all this stuff. Well, they finally want to get a job. Well, they got to have something, right? I go to police records and go, yeah, unfortunately, you've been arrested before. But on this particular day, it's a good day. Because your arrest record, I can have them notarize that this is officially you. Okay, so this is one form of ID. They will notarize that, our police records. Well, notarize that and go, this is officially you. And I said, I remember taking you to the hospital, medical center of Lewisville. Remember that time you had to have emergency surgery or whatever? Like, yeah, I said, let's go on down there. I take them to records at the hospital. And they'll say, yep, I'll certify that that's officially him. And they'll stamp it because it's got his photo and all that. Now they got 2 forms of ID. Now you can go to DL and get your driver's license, or you can go to Social Security office and apply for your Social Security card. So there's a whole lot more than this that I have time to brief, but you get the general idea. There's a lot of wheels in the cog here. Job assistance, transportation, all that stuff we have. Again, the hard part is completely voluntarily. All right, you got one of the reasons the numbers came down a lot is when COVID hit, a lot of resources shut down completely. Y'all know that, right? So these guys are like, oh, the old saying of, I give you a fish today, tomorrow you got to get your own fish. Well, you got to learn how to fish. When COVID hit, a lot of resources went kaplunk. They were like, wow, I need to, I got homeless guys out there cutting grass now with a lawnmower, right? I don't care. Hey, it makes them $10, $20. They started realizing, hey, I make more money if I'm actually doing something. Okay, so there's all kinds of little things like that, but it's completely voluntarily. I still can't make them do any of this stuff, but we can incentivize them. And the thing is, we learn more about each homeless person because when I sit down with them, I just don't go, here's the packet. I learn as much as they'll tell me. And then all the other homeless in the community, they know me, so they kind of gives me that street cred right off the bat that they realize, hey, this is one of the good ones. They'll help you out. Louisville's different. We're not. I won't name the other city, but we're not this city, we're not that city, but as long as you obey by the law, they'll help you out. And that's a good rapport that we like. This is some of the stuff that I track. Did I have it on here? Yeah. This is some of the stuff that I track. Their name, street, description, DL, current photo. The reason I keep a current photo is, like I said, we do have homeless folks that pass away. I've had them, and obviously without giving out their names, I've had them pass away because they abused alcohol so long that I rolled up on them on one of these just welfare checks, because nobody, goes to this particular area. I get out on foot and I walk way deep in the woods where you would never go, trust me. And I found this individual and he was in a lot of pain. I'm like, dude, I need to call you an ambulance. And he begged me to. I called an ambulance. They took him to MCL and his organs just started shutting down. 2 weeks later, he passed away in the hospital. Okay, we had one not too long ago. Same thing, alcohol. A lot of it's drugs, but alcohol. Just abuse his body so long, your body just says, I'm done. Okay, but I keep track of all this stuff. And the pictures, it helps the younger officers because they do let me go home. She doesn't make me work 365 days. So when I go home, I used to have officers send me a picture, go, man, I found that this guy, he's unconscious. Do you know him? I said, yeah, that's so-and-so. So now they have access to these photos and the file names are, their name, date of birth, all that. So it's like if they do come across somebody, oh, okay. And the new system we have, they also would have, their next of kin, their phone number, all the information that we can share, which makes it interactive. So it's very helpful. And my database that I used to collect this or maintain this information on, we've switched over to a new system, which will make it even more friendly. So mine's like me, probably a little obsolete now. older and obsolete almost. Anyway, addressing their needs. This is stuff I used to monitor. What did we offer them, which is usually everything, and whether they accept it or not. Because it also, I deal with so many folks that sometimes, they blend together a little bit. So I want to keep track of, hey, last time I talked to this individual, I put a little silly notes in and I go, almost had them convinced to go to drug rehab. So I know they're almost there. Most of them I know that. And it's like, man, I just keep talking to them, making contact. And slowly they'll be like, man, it's building up that confidence and that trust and I get them together. The community resource book, again, I always provide them that, and whether they accept it or not. Because everything's little steps. Hey, they did accept the book. They're almost there. Hey, check on me later. I'll be willing, not today. Whatever the notes are. If they have a mental or physical disability, and veterans, Texas is number 2 in the nation with veterans. Believe it or not, the last stats I ran, because I also teach the trauma-affected veterans course, And less than 1% of the population serves, and 18% of Texas population are veterans. That's huge, huge amount of numbers, okay? So with a lot of wars drawing down, I mean, even at the PD, we got a ton of veterans, right? But with the wars winding down and coming back, we still have a lot of trauma, PTSD, and a lot of TBIs, right? Traumatic brain injuries, okay? So I like to keep contact with that, because if we show up on a call as an officer, remember, I'm sharing this information with other police. If they show up and they think, hey, this guy's just giving us a runaround. No, man, he's got right here it says he's got a traumatic brain injury. Oh, or he's got a mental health issue. Okay. It kind of gives them a heads up. And we can dial it down a little bit and realize. Emergency contacts, we already talked about that, and their history. Okay, most of the stuff we've already talked about. The biggest thing is the alcohol, drug, and mental disability. That is predominantly one of those three, and sometimes all three. Okay, there's other factors, but the main thing is, whatever the problem is, there's a resource available for it. Okay, the hard part is it doesn't, for just my experience. Okay, and most of y'all know me. I'm an easygoing guy. I treat everybody just like family. The hard part is building the rapport with these individuals so that they trust you and will let you get that resource for them. And that doesn't happen overnight. So, but we've got a whole bunch off the street recently, which is really good. And this is, I couldn't say this enough right here, is our chief, our chain of command from the chief down, is more than willing to let us try. Well, if it sounds solid, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I don't know if anybody else that tries that or does that or whatever, but it sounds like it might work. Try it. If it works, we keep it. If it doesn't work, just like regular business, right? If it works, we keep it. If it don't, we throw it out. Okay, and we just learn. And by these meetings that we have, we share the information of, hey, what do y'all do? Hey, what do y'all do? Hey, man, we never even thought of that. Stuff that other people, we've been doing for years. Other people look at it going, wow, I wish we needed. I've already sent that resource book. The last person I sent it to was Justin PD, right? They're like, oh man, that is a godsend. Send me that, and they love it because it gives them a starting point they didn't have. They're still looking stuff up on the internet. Who does what? What resource? So. We did have, again, when COVID hit, that I went to a halt, but I've had riders going out with me, and a lot of y'all may not know that, but it was approved through the chain, and it works great. I made some Mars Road out with me, Giving Hope, United Way, and what it is we take the resource directly to the homeless, and they do direct interviewing, right? So which is great. So I like that. And again, depending on the COVID thing, how it goes, whether we start it back up again or not, but I think things are starting to kind of slowly go back, and then the spikes. I'm not going to get into the COVID discussion, but we're still kind of a little bit on hold like that, but I like to ride out when we can. At point in time, all that is once a year, they, for grants or stuff like that, they go out and they count the homeless that are in the community. And any given day, you can call me, I'll give you a number. But they have to do it officially, I guess, for the grants and stuff. Again, most of the homeless in Lewisville know me by name. They really do, and vice versa. Now, the great part is we have a new co-care team, which is awesome because, as you notice, not just Lewisville, the county, tech, nationwide, everybody's recognized mental health is a big issue. Crisis intervention before it becomes a criminal matter. Does that make sense? Now, we actually have a dedicated team of police officers and fire department personnel. All right, and the fire department personnel cross-train as well to become police and fire. So you got the medical, you got the FD, and you got the police cross-training everything. And so that's going to be awesome. Multiple teams there, different shifts, weekend. And so far, they're all senior personnel, highly experienced. So this is really going to help out. It's just recently approved. So some of them are still getting qualified, right? So I'm still doing what I'm doing. You got some on the street now, okay, and it helps. But when you finally get everybody fully qualified and up to speed because they still have to get additional training. But it's just going to be an additional asset, or it already is. They're plainclothes mental health officers. They've gone to the mental health officer training, additional training. So that's great. Unmarked units, civilian clothes. That way it's less intimidating, less threatening if somebody's in a mental health crisis. And I still follow up. Again, I don't have enough time to cover everything, but I still follow up with folks that I've dealt with as crises and stuff like that. It does multiple things. It makes sure they're still doing just fine. But just like anybody in here, just human nature, wow, you took the time to check up on me. Somebody cares about me. It keeps them from up here to, hey, Hopper's going to check on me every now and then. It keeps them down here. At least one person in this world cares about me, about and we have all kinds of, the next topic's on homeless. Sorry, I don't want to get too off track there. The FD also are arson, right? Your guys, yeah, the FD guys are really, everybody's dual qual, but they are also arson investigators as well as mental health, as PD. So everybody's like cross training like crazy, which is great. They're just well rounded. And it also frees up like the gang units and all the other regular patrol guys. If it's a mental health issue, it's not a crime involved. They're just either in a crisis or pre-crisis or whatever. They can show up, handle that crisis, take it to, I'm going to give you an example real quick is I may show up to a call, not criminal, but it happens all the time. It'll be a mental health call. I'll go ahead and tell the patrol guys going back to regular calls, because they got 911 calls, emergencies, all this kind of stuff. One mental health call, the last one I did took 4 hours. Okay, in police time, that's forever, right? If you've taken a 4-hour cop off the street, that's a long time that beat or that area is not being covered. But I have the time to call resources, and a lot of times that's where that having those personal mobiles come in handy going, this person doesn't need an appointment 2 weeks from now. Or a week from now, I need to get them in now. And a lot of times we can do that, but it may take a couple of phone calls to do that. And actually, the first hour or two is usually convincing the individual to go get the help they need before it becomes a real crisis. All right. The main thing is here, we've made a significant progress in Louisville. Okay, for multiple reasons, with outside help as well. And we keep doing so. With the new co-care team, that's really going to help out a lot too. Oh, okay.
Explain what that is.
Oh, yeah, this right here, I actually did this one time because somebody was asking me where the homeless hang out. Well, if you just look at the map, it's self-explanatory. This is very dynamic. Okay, I try to update it, but I don't update it for me. I update it for folks like this that want to see a display. All the yellow dots or the yellow arrows are previous homeless camps all over Louisville. And the red ones are where somebody is actively either sleeping or trying to camp. And usually if it's still there, it's because we found the camp, but we can't catch the individual there. That makes it, because again, Chief lets me go home sometimes. And so when I show up on the camp, some of these guys and girls are actually working. They may work and then come back at the end of the day or at the night, at midnight or whatever, and sleep there. And then boom, 5 in the morning, they're gone again or something like that. So hopefully we want to keep the red dots to a minimum. And the yellow dots, it's quite a bit of yellow dots, but that's also when somebody new comes to the unit, or even they can look at it and go, oh, wow, I never thought about that. That is a good place to sneak a camp into or something like that.
Do you share this with the point in time crew when they come through?
No, and I'm always open, but here's the thing I always think about is I don't want this to sound like the homeless are like kids. Some of them are dangerous. I kind of preface it with this. The point in time, a lot of times I'll volunteer and they ride with me is how we've traditionally done it. And I've had numerous of them say, well, just give a map where all the camps are. I said, let me explain it to you. And it's usually a younger person that their heart's in the right place, but they don't know the dangers that are involved. I said, you remember, they're homeless for a reason. They got drug, alcohol, mental. I said, they know me. And if they don't know me, at least the uniform says, whatever you're doing, at least be cool. The cops are here. When we're teenagers, right? Oh, the cops are here. Be cool, right? If you just show up, you're not, you know what I mean? If you just show up by yourself, they could look at you as a threat, right? And especially if they're high on drugs or mental or something like that. So I give them what I call the public areas, but I don't give them the ones that are like deep in some woods or something like that, where I tell them, I said, if here's my daughter, because most of them are ladies that wrote out, I said, if here's my daughter, I wouldn't want you to go deep into these woods because you could scream to your heart's content and nobody in the world would hear you. And I would feel, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I was part of that happened. And now the odds of that happening is very, very slim. But it's like, how about I just give you, and they're always cool about it, but I know they want all the places. I said, if you want to go to those places, I said, let me at least meet you. If you're not right with me, let me at least meet you there so I can at least be there for your safety. Does that make sense? But usually they'll ride around with me. At least one or two of them will ride around. They go all over. I'll publish the public areas, but not the ones where they would be so isolated they could be a danger. Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't know where to go.
So as y'all can tell, Officer Hopper is certainly knowledgeable in this, and I've got to say he's truly embraced this as part of his job, and that says a lot about him.
I agree. I've been very impressed with Officer Hopper and what the impacts he's had in the community, because I think they are tremendous.
Well, I appreciate it, and I will leave it with this though, because it works both ways. I couldn't do what I do without the support of our chain of command, from a sergeant all the way up to the manager, the mayor, and the county. So it really has. I've been fortunate. Everybody's supported everywhere. So,
And with him today is Sergeant Steve Dickens. He's over the NROs and the SROs, but we're going to get SRO sergeants. So. And then Captain Casey Carter, he's over the street crimes unit and all of them. And Sergeant Naff was here, Naff Ziegler, but he left already and in the back room. Captain Mike Lane, and he's over the NROs as well. Any more questions?
One question, Chief. You said you communicated with other departments, and you guys have communicated. Have you guys kind of formalized what works and what doesn't work? Because the thing with the homelessness issue is that it kind of is transient and it moves. So it doesn't respect boundaries or city limits. But I mean, so at some point we communicate this up to the county and state level, so we get more funding to help you do your job and help other PDs do their job as well. Have we started?
Yeah, and you can expand on that a little bit too, but in these group meetings that we have, there's often people from the county there, people from the state there. I couldn't be there last Friday, but and we're hoping that they take that up to the state level and pass that information along. I know through all of the memberships and committees that I serve on, we're certainly trying to get that information moving up to the state level.
Because I definitely would be willing to talk to our county officials and at least put the bug there and say, hey, you need, because it's not just Louisville, it's every place throughout the county.
And what he mentioned earlier is true to fact. With gangs and everything else, to be effective, you have to cross jurisdictional grounds. And that is especially the case with the transit community, because they're here today, they'll be in Denton tomorrow, they may be in Dallas tomorrow. So we've got to stay on top of it. And sharing that information is a wealth of knowledge.
I would say with the county's budget that they just passed last week, and they put a significant new chunk of money into mental health for the sheriff's department. I think that is an outflow of some of the communities, the United Way mental health as well, over the last 2-3 years. So I'm hoping we'll continue to see that. I think the judge and the county commissioners have seen that there's more needs, so they're trying to do what they can within their boundaries. But yes, we need to keep pushing this up, into the state level, because Denton County is still one of the lowest funded per capita for mental health. And the co-care you mentioned, you didn't really spend any time on it, but the elderly, I think, is a great component of that. Because here we are trying to make sure that people can live in their homes, and our population is getting older over time. So being able to have that kind of hook back in, I think is important.
And just to give you guys go ahead.
Oh, one positive thing that, again, just for time, I couldn't cover everything. I've got hours and stuff. But it's not just the police and not just mental health. We've got the, or drugs or whatever. We've got the judges coming to these places, the mental health judge of Denton County, right? We also have Veterans Court for mental health. Okay, that Judge Beadle. So anyway, it's evolved to where all the players that need to be involved are bringing up stuff every meeting. Okay, we identify this. Let's tackle this. Let's find a way to make this better. So it's no longer just Louisville leading the way on this particular issue and that one doing this one. It's everybody's finally. That, to be honest, that was the biggest thing for me. Years ago, we didn't even have a 24-hour mental health MHMR, right? Well, people have mental health crisis, suicidal at 2 a.m. We used to take them to MCL, when there's nothing physically wrong, unless they took pills or something, So we've got that now. Everything's like slowly, now we have a 24-hour crisis. We can take them to 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Now, that's what I was alluding to. If now we have okay, you're not trying to kill yourself, but you're addicted to drugs. Now I have somebody I can actually call physically, not 2-week appointment. It is slow steps, but it is getting there.
And just a quick update on the co-care unit. So we've got 2 police officers assigned to it. They've been completely trained. They've been working for about a month and a half now. Chief McNeil had 1 arson investigator. He went through our FTO process, and that's field training program, kind of get him back accustomed to being a police officer and seeing how we do things out in the field. And that way we can be a backup for each other, basically. So he completed FTO last week, and he'll be with our 2 officers for now. And then Chief McNeil's got 2 paramedics in the police academy, and they get out mid-September. And then they'll go through that same FTO program. So we should be full strength by mid to late December.
Thank you so much. We can obviously tell that you love what you do, which is awesome. I had the opportunity to have coffee with Officer Hopper and the chief a few months back, and it's what you're doing is amazing. So we really appreciate it. The whole department.
Good team.
All right, gang. I don't think we have anything else for here in the workshop, so we got about 3 minutes before we need to start up the regular session.
Still logged in?
Mm-hmm. Trying to get this thing to default into that.
Go into that.
Yeah, so when you go there, you're just gonna have to run up here and do the regular automatically jump step. It does.
Yeah, I already have 2.
So it's gonna go like this and just go up there and it's just like a duplicate. I don't know what the.
We'll have to research it later.
Yeah.
Couldn't pick.
Can I get some T-Cole hours? This one was the rodeo. Can I get some T-Cole hours for that?
Put them into your text messages up to you.
He said he had some. Do you have that on a card? No, he did not want to make available what we wanted to speak about during the.
That's fine. That's fine. Totally fine.
It is 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Louisville City Council to order, and we have a quorum present. Item A, invocation. Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Jones.
Please join me in a moment of contemplation and silence. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Green, if you could lead us in the pledges.
Please join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one and indivisible.
All right, good evening. First item up we have is the public hearing. This is a continued public hearing, consideration of an ordinance pursuant to section 311.003 of the Texas Tax Code, amending tax increment reinvestment zone number 3, TERS 3, located south of State Highway 121 and Business 121, and being wholly located within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Louisville, by amending its boundaries and its benefits to the city of Louisville and amending the project and finance plan for the zone. The ordinance originally amended the boundaries of the TERS as well as the project and finance plan. As recommended by staff and approved by the TERS board, the boundaries of the TERS are no longer being changed. Thus, the proposed revised ordinance amends the project and finance plan to update project costs and zone reimbursements to include Economic Development Authority and set the cap for city reimbursement for economic development and project reimbursement at $54 million. It's a recommendation that the City Council conduct a public hearing and approve the proposed revised ordinance. All right, do we have any public comment on this item? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, although if you would please vote, council. All right, motion passes 4-0. Need a motion to approve. I'll entertain that.
Move to approve the proposed ordinance as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. City Attorney?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, adopting an amended and restated project and finance plan pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code and providing for an immediate effective date and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you would please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff, for being prepared for that one, but I think we've got it. Next up, we have the Visitor Citizens Forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. City Secretary, do we have any comment cards?
We do, Mayor. John Lane.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is John Lane. I live at 1602 Cedar Keys Drive, Lewisville, Texas. I was just curious, who set up the, was it you that set up the council to appoint the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office?
I'm sorry, sir. We're not allowed to respond by the state law.
You're
So
not
if you would
allowed
like
to
to go ahead.
respond. Well, because it says here that it was a mayor's commission. I mean, I feel like I have a right to know what my tax dollars are being spent on, and this right here is something highly concerning. So why am I not allowed to know that?
Sir, we're not allowed to respond due to public meeting. It is not something on the forum.
Uh,
If you
it-
do
it
want
shouldn't
to have
matter.
a
This is
conversation,
This is a forum for speakers. Why am I not allowed to
you are,
bring this
you are
up?
more than welcome to make your comments for the next 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I've tried to make my comments to you before, except you refuse to call me back. I don't know if anybody has seen this here. I'm assuming you guys are all aware what critical race theory, neo-Marxism, cultural Marxism, postmodernism, whatever you want to put on it, critical theory is. And it looks like the city of Louisville has decided to utilize our tax dollars to further this cult or religion that, quite frankly, I find pretty pernicious. I am curious where I can find the actual materials that will be being taught to people. I'd like to know what kind of struggle sessions you guys are being submitted to. I really would like to know who actually appointed her. Now, your refusal to acknowledge that is pretty concerning, considering it says a mayor's commission. I guess you guys aren't going to respond, but I'm curious, how many people here are actually familiar with critical race theory? You're just going to look at me deadpan. You're not going to respond at all.
Sir, state law does not allow them to respond to something in public that's on visitor or citizen forum. You're allowed to speak, but it's not on the agenda to be discussed because we obviously didn't know what you were going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very convenient. Well, then I guess I'll first start off by saying that I view this as horrendously disgusting. The DEI office, or equity, which is not equality. This is not in line with Dr. King's version of equality. This is equity, which seeks to diminish our common humanity and instead focus on special interest groups. This is a cult. This is cultural Marxism. The fact that our tax dollars are being utilized for this means that I am paying for race racketeering. It's an extortion racket for the religion of cultural Marxism. Now, I don't know if you guys actually believe in this, or if you are just spending money so that you don't get caught by the cancel culture. Critical theory is a disaster waiting to happen if we do not combat it at every turn. No one is saying that you cannot have these views, simply that these views may not be forced on us, and you may not harness our tax dollars to spread its virulent message. We should declaw, defang, and defund DEI, CRT so that this religion cannot lead us into the blender like it did to tens of millions of innocent Chinese during the Cultural Revolution under Mao. With no claws or teeth to enforce its will on others, we can let these psychopaths thrash around in their trash ideology all they like. Critical theory de-emphasizes the common humanity of humans by putting the emphasis not on the fact that we are humans, but on the special interest groups these critical theorists believe supersede common humanity. Now, I'm not sure if you guys actually believe in any of this crap. I sincerely hope you do not, because I'm going to fight this tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. And I think it's disgusting and abhorrent that you have brought this to my front door. Now, I don't know how much you actually know. I hope that I hope you don't know anything. I hope you are being fooled. But based off of several of the conversations I've had and the wording of this entire article, I'm not quite sure that you don't know what you're doing, and that's even worse.
That's been 5 minutes. Thank you for your time, sir.
Who can I contact to get information on that?
You can contact me directly at the city manager's office.
And I can get the materials that she's spreading?
Sir, you can contact me outside of this meeting.
Worthless.
City Secretary, do we have any other public comment?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, thank you. Council, we're going to move to the consent agenda. I understand that Mayor Bill Weaver is here, so I would need somebody to pull agenda item 3 off the consent agenda, if that's okay.
Move to move agenda item 3 off of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote.
They can just vote out loud on
Well, we
this
just pull it,
one.
that's right, we
That's
just, we
fine.
haven't done that before, so there we go. So we just pull that. So I'll need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda without item 3.
Move to approve the consent agenda without item 3.
Second.
Got it. Council, if you please vote. All right, motion passes 4-0. Item 3, approval of a resolution naming the Louisville Rodeo Arena in honor of former Mayor Bill Weaver. Renovations at Louisville Rodeo Arena will be completed by the end of this year. PBR Louisville will be held on Saturday, September 18th, and will be the first rodeo event at the facility since September 2018. Staff is proposing to rename the arena in honor of former Mayor Bill Weaver in recognition of his contributions to the city and to the arena. It's a recommendation that the City Council approve the resolution as set forth in the caption above for item 3. Mayor Weaver, how are you, sir? It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. Would you like to say a couple of words? No? And sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
I know the drill.
Thank you, sir.
Todd Weaver, 99 Lake Drive, Tioga, Texas. I would like to, on behalf of the family, say what this means to us. And I really appreciate the fact that y'all have gone to this length. You know, I remember as a young kid, my dad coming home late from city council meetings in 1966 to 67. Well, I think he was mayor 62 through 67, something like that. So we have heard the stories over the years, and family by family contacting us and telling us what he meant to them. But things like this happen very rarely. And I just want to commend the hard work that Eric Ferris has done on this. And part of the problem has been we lost our mom back in February, which complicated everything. But we are learning to move forward now without her as a family, and it's hard. She's the one that kept us all in line. So it's been a challenge, but he really did do quite a bit for the city of Louisville. And it means more than just having his photo hang in the hall. It means a lot more to us, and you know, we won't forget it. So we just want to tell you from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for this.
Thank you. Council, we're going to need a motion and a second. I've got a motion, I think, here.
I move to approve the resolution naming Louisville Rodeo Arena in honor of former Mayor Bill Weaver.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, would any of you, any words, comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Motion passes 4-0. I would like to make a quick comment. You had mentioned Mr. Ferris, of course, but I think Mr. Ferris is also representative of just the longevity. You look at the wall of mayors, you look at the wall of city managers, you look at the wall of folks that have worked for this city. You know, we have one sitting here in the corner, and you know, as big a town as we've grown to become, we still have that pull and that longevity and that history that harkens back to us being a little bit smaller and maybe a little bit more rural than we've become today. But we still have that, and we still carry that forward. And I think that speaks to what we're doing here tonight. So I'm just privileged to have the gavel for this small period of time and be part of this. But thank you so much for all you've done and all the groundwork that you've laid so that we can be successful here today. With that, we're going to move on. Gosh, there was a lot on the consent agenda tonight. Item 17, consideration of an ordinance calling for a bond election to be held within the city on November 2nd, 2021, making provisions for the conduction of the election and other provisions related thereto. Braceville LLP, the city's bond council, has developed an ordinance calling for an election to issue general obligation bonds for public safety facilities, including fire, police, and emergency operations. The election is planned for November 2nd, 2021. It is the recommendation that the city council approve an election ordinance as set forth in the caption above. City manager, do we have any comments on this from staff?
Absolutely. So this election would not be projected to impact the debt rate of the city. We do have the capacity to actually absorb the bond program. This would actually replace the existing buildings that were built a number of years ago, over 30 years ago, with the police building and the fire administration and fire station number 1. So we've seen issues throughout the years. Certainly the buildings need major investment. In addition, certainly we had issues when we went through the ice, the freeze situation early in the winter, and we recognize now that we need a facility that can stand up to those type of challenges. And so all of that would be included in this new facility if approved by the voters.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve the election ordinance as set forth in the caption.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any comments from council?
Mayor, we do have, Russ Kerbo is here in support of this item. He does not wish to speak unless you want him to speak.
Chief, if you'd like to say a couple of words, I'd appreciate your input. I'm sorry,
Thank you,
Russ.
Mayor, I appreciate that. Russ Kerbo, 2329 Clearview Court, Louisville, Texas. Mayor and council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this issue. I've got a group of like-minded citizens, such as myself, that are in support of this. We're going to be working to help secure the passage of this bond election. It's obviously a much-needed facility. As the city manager pointed out, that freeze earlier this year that caught a lot of us off guard just kind of amplifies the need for a facility that can stand on its own. And, you know, we're probably ill-equipped to be able to do that. There's going to be additional growth of police officers and firefighters, and our emergency operations center. It's going to be critical for us to have infrastructure that can support that. And I'm, you know, wholly in support of it, and I'll be working to try to do that and try to say things that I know that you guys can't say. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Appreciate you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. City Attorney, if I could have you read the ordinance.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, calling a bond election to be held within the city, making provisions for the conduct of the election and other provisions relating thereto.
All right, council, if you could please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Just a few points of comment on this one. Not only does this restructure 2 of our oldest facilities, which have several $1 million worth of deferred maintenance on them, it also provides us with an emergency operations center, which we do not have currently. We were planning to structure that as part of City Hall. But as far as the preliminary designs go, we may be able to save dollars by placing them within the hardened facilities that are required of police and fire stations today. Another thing that I think is important about this facility as we move forward that drives some of the cost is that we will be looking to add a parking structure. So with a parking structure means that all of our police vehicles that currently reside outside under a carport at best, and response vehicles, you know, under the Texas heat, under the sun, hail damage, and all the other potential liability that comes with that open parking will be mitigated with a parking structure. And it'll also free up space around our library and our public buildings there for the public, which I think is going to be a good thing there. So there are a lot of moving parts on this. Chief, I appreciate you standing up and being a point on that. But that's what we're going to be asking the public for, and hopefully they will see the wisdom of moving forward with this. Item 18, consideration of an amendment to the tax increment reinvestment zone reimbursement agreement by and among the City of Louisville, the Louisville Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 3, and Bright Realty LLC for project costs within Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 3, and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreement. A public hearing was held earlier in the meeting considering an amendment of the TERS 3 project and finance plan. The TERS 3 reimbursement agreement must be changed to reflect changes made to the plan, as well as requiring the simultaneous dedication of parks and open space to the city upon annexation of all of the Denton County freshwater supply districts prior to the effectiveness of this agreement. It is recommended that the City Council approve the amendment to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone reimbursement agreement as set forth in the caption and authorize the city manager to execute that agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the amendment to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone reimbursement agreement as set forth in the caption, authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Council, if you'd please vote. Item passes 4-0.
Mayor, just to let everyone know, Eric Stanley is here in support of this item, public hearing 1, item 14, 15, and 18. He did not wish to speak, but he is here in support.
You sure, Mr. Stanley? As have we all. Thank you so much for being here. Good deal. Thank you, sir. Item 19, consideration of a variance to the Louisville City Code, section 6-37-1, regarding the timing of Parkland dedication or cash in lieu of, and payment of park development fees for Sparrow Senior Living located on 9.997 acres and legally described as lots 1R-1 and lot 1R-2, Block A, Valley Ridge Edition, Phase 4, zoned medical district located on the south side of Valley Ridge Boulevard, approximately 600 feet east of Garden Ridge Boulevard, as requested by Joseph A. Fraccaro of Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated on behalf of Milton Barber, Sparrow Partners, the developer, and Craig Martin, Louisville Independent School District, the property owner. The City Council approved the zone change to medical district on March 15, 2021 to allow the development of Sparrow Senior Living, a retirement community with 192 dwelling units on the site. City staff has since worked with the applicant on the final plat for this development and established the required park fees. Because the purchase of this property from the Louisville Independent School District is in process, the developer is requesting a variance to delay the dedication of parkland or cash in lieu of and payment of the parkland development fee until the issuance of the first building permit, at which time all due amounts will be paid in full and the property will be dedicated by an amending plat. It's a recommendation that the City Council approve the variance as set forth in the caption above. And Mr. Richard Lutke is available for questions, our planning director.
I had a quick question. 'Cause I think we've seen this variance request before, just to kind of move the timing of when it's required to pay these fees. What does the ordinance call for? When should this be paid, just by our ordinance?
It has to be paid prior to the filing of the final plat.
Okay. So, I noticed in here that what kind of the issue is that the final plat needs to be done before they can actually, it seems like that would be a fairly typical problem. Is that, just wondering if it might be something we might want to consider changing so we don't have to continue to do similar variances.
That's something we can take a look at.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the variance for the parkland dedication and payment of park development fees for Sparrow Senior Living.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Council, please vote. Motion passes. Item 20, consideration of 9 alternative standards associated with a proposed new building for Boomer Jacks located at 2437 South Stemmons Freeway, legally described as Vista Ridge Mall Edition Lot 11R1 Block A, zoned General Business District, as required by Daniel Stewart, Development Engineering Consultants, LLC, on behalf of Bill Stubbs and Company, Incorporated, the property owner. Case number 21-06-3-ALT-STD. The applicant proposes to demolish the current building and construct a new restaurant. Since this property is located within the Interstate Highway 35E overlay, the applicant requests the following 9 alternative standards. A, an increased building to zone of 0 to 70 feet. B, a 40-foot build to maximum along Interstate Highway 35E. C, a driveway without deceleration lane along Interstate Highway 35E. D, street tree spacing up to 50 feet and in an irregular manner along the primary pedestrian street. E, trees to be located in existing landscape areas within the parking lot. F, 3 additional pedestrian scale lights as shown. G, a reduction in pedestrian amenities as follows: 1 trash receptacle, 1 bike rack, and 1 bench. H, a reduction to 25% for windows on the ground floor facades on primary pedestrian street and adjacent to sidewalks contingent on additional plantings and wall treatments. And I, a reduction to 30% for awnings along the primary pedestrian street. The Overlay District Board recommended unanimous approval 6-0 of the 9 alternative standards on July 20th, 2021. It is recommended that the City Council approve the 9 alternative standards as presented. Mr. Richard Lutke is available for questions, as is Daniel Stewart.
One quick question. Why did they choose this property particularly? It seemed like there might have been some other properties along that same stretch they could have picked. Just curious.
I believe from discussions with staff, it's just the visibility of and access at this site. I think Macaroni Grill, the former tenant, was quite successful. And I think that is one of the many reasons that they chose this site to develop the new restaurant.
Okay, thanks.
All right, if there are no questions, we will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the 9 alternative standards as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, any comments? I'll entertain, actually, I won't entertain it. Y'all will vote. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you for being here. And thank you for investing in the city. Item 21, consideration of a resolution extending the declaration of local disaster for public health emergency until 11:59 p.m. on September 13th, 2021. On February 17th, 2021, Mayor Rudy Durham, acting in accordance with authority granted to him under the City Charter and Code of Ordinances and under Section 418.108A of the Texas Government Code, declared a local state of disaster for public health emergency due to concerns related to COVID-19. The disaster declaration, which the Louisville City Council subsequently ratified, supported, and continued until 11:59 p.m. on August 16th, 2021. Ongoing evaluation of circumstances related to the virus and the updated recommendations of the Centers for Disease Control and the Texas Department of State Health Services indicate that the conditions necessitating the disaster declaration have and will continue to exist for a period of time extending beyond August 16th, 2021. It's recommended that the City Council consider the resolution as set forth in the caption. I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the resolution as in the caption. I'd just like to say that I had hoped that by now we would be out of the woods, but unfortunately we aren't. So I move to extend the declaration of local disaster.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you'd please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Item G, reports. These are reports about items of community interest regarding which no action will be taken. I will be working my way across the front for staff, and we are going to start with Councilmember Green tonight because she's now first in the rotation. So, Mr. Lutke.
Nothing, Mayor.
Nothing, sir. Nothing, sir.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, just a quick update on the lake level. We're at 521.58, which is just about half a foot below the normal pool elevation.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I had a couple of reports.
Wonderful.
One of them is that the city has received the Governmental Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award. This is a process by which our budget and budgeting processes are judged on how we convey information to the public. They look at it as a policy document, an operations guide, a financial plan, and a communication device. And so this is the 28th year in a row that the city has maintained these best practices and standards. However, it is the first year that we're also receiving a special performance measures recognition award. And this is the result of council really being interested in data and pushing that into our everyday life, our management of the city, continuing to make this a focus, ITS and all their work on the dashboard,
and then all of our departments and the use of that dashboard. And we're very excited to get the special recognition. And I also wanted to mention that Deanne Tompkins in our office, who is right here, has done a tremendous job of really linking that performance dashboard and all the work that we've done into our budget document and allowing our public to really know that it's being utilized. Also, I'll only mention that last year we went back and looked, and there were only 2 entities in the state of Texas who got any sort of special recognition. So since we were one of them, I really wanted to let y'all know that we're super proud about that. The second report is on the Zen City Ask Survey. You'll remember that back in July, the 12th through the 31st, we had a recycling survey that we publicized through Zen City. One of the questions that we asked was how important it is that the city continue to offer the curbside recycling program. We had almost 1,000 respondents to the survey. 75% responded that it was very important, and 17% answered somewhat important. So overall, there were 92% were in favor of continuing the program. We also asked for suggestions on changing the program to reduce contamination and reduce costs. The overwhelming majority of suggestions called for additional education regarding contaminants and permissible recyclables. So overall, the education aspect was really pushed. We also had a couple of them ask for maybe incentives. We could either do those negatively by fining people, or we could do it positively by kind of doing random searches. And when we find a good bin, that we kind of publicize that. But by and far, it was educational resources were needed for that department. So we've shared these results with our recycling staff to confirm to them that our residents are interested in continuing the service and to provide direction on ways to improve that contamination issue.
Thank you so much.
Nothing, Mayor.
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you all know it's my favorite time of year at the Jean Carey Animal Shelter and Adoption Center. Clear the Shelter is coming up a week from today. We have a lot of pets coming up for adoption. All of those are listed online at lewisvillepets.com. We'll have coverage from NBC and Telemundo, August the 23rd through September the 18th. And our $90 adoption fee will be waived from September 10th through September 18th.
My Facebook memories showed 3 of our animal control vehicles in a parade down Main Street with posters on the back and the names of all the animals that were in the shelter written on the posters. So this is something that our shelter has been doing for a few years now, and it's a great program. And it, I think, more often than not, does clear the shelter.
It does.
So it's great. Thank you. Mr. Ferris? Councilmember Green?
Well, I wasn't going to have a report today, but since Gina mentioned the budget, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are having our first public hearing for the budget our next meeting, September 13th, in this room.
Councilman Jones?
Couple things. Thrive will be celebrating its first year, and the grand opening of the Thrive Nature Park will be Saturday, August 28th. It'll be at 10 o'clock. It's a come and go event. You have to register, and you send the registration. You email C. Spears at cityoflouisville.com. Come check out Thrive and come check out the new nature park.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Meredith?
Yes, Mayor, I've got some library activities for the week. We have ESL class Tuesday, August 17th and Thursday, August 19th, 10:30 to 1. These free English as a second language classes for adults are back. These classes are provided by the North Texas Adult Education and Literacy and Department of Denton ISD and funded by the Texas Workforce Commission. Registration is required. Second activities, Book for Murder Mystery Book Club, Tuesday, August 17th, 2 to 3 p.m. Book for Murder is a monthly book club designed for adult readers of mysteries, thrillers, and suspense novels. The August book selection is The Widows of Malabar Hill by Suhata Masi. And Virtual Book Club, Robot Overlords, Saturday, August 21st, 3 to 4 p.m. Registration is required.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Troyer?
Yes, Mayor. I have several things going from the Louisville Grand Theater. First of all, in terms of performances, well, before I even talk about the future, the performance by
Marcia Ball.
Marcia Ball Saturday night was tremendous. For a lady who is who's almost as old as I am, she had a lot of energy, and if you missed that performance, you really missed something. So anyway, upcoming performances on August 29th, the Lanchester Singular Suvosi Su Piano, presented by People Productions, will be happening. August 20th is the next Acoustic Jam Songwriter Challenge, presented by the Visual Art League of Louisville. I'm not sure what the topic of that is, but that Songwriter Challenge is always very, very interesting. They're given a word and they have to write a song about it. So the Acoustic Jam goes on every Friday evening, again presented by the Visual Arts League of Louisville. Some activities going on at the Grand Green Spark Market and Workshops, presented by the City of Louisville on August 21st. An afternoon with the Poet Laureate, hosted by the City of Louisville's poet, Yoon Sun Nam. Did I get that right? I hope. August 22nd. And then ongoing things are Yoga in the Plaza with Blue and Juice Studios on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pilates in the Plaza with Audrey Thursdays at 6 p.m. And Tai Chi in the Plaza with Lowell Johnson Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. And a few art exhibitions that are in progress. Dreaming of Art, an exhibition by Alfredo Santesteban, presented by the Visual Art League of Louisville. That's going on from August 21st to September 18th. And then Into the Resting Place, art and poetry exhibition by Yoon Soon Nam, presented by the City of Louisville, August 24th through September 18th. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilman. City Manager, anything from you?
Sure. You know, when Gina told me about the award that we were receiving on the dashboard, I was thrilled. We've received a lot of awards over the years, but this one really had a lot of meaning. I will tell you that award would not have happened without Gina's leadership. She spent countless hours on this project, and I think it has had tremendous impact. But another person that is here today, too, that had a lot of impact, and that's Jason Kirkland. He's worked diligently on those measures and pulling the data out of our systems, and has made all the difference. Those two have worked hand in hand to make that dashboard a reality.
It's a wonderful, wonderful set of tools that we have, and I know it keeps me on the heartbeat of what we've got on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's pretty impressive, and what we continue to do with it is going to continue to grow. So I did have one brief comment for this Saturday at 9:30. I will be at the Perk reviewing the budget. So if anybody wants to come talk with me personally about what they see in the budget, what they have an interest in, or just questions in general, I will be there and available. I may not have all the answers, but sure as heck know who to ask. So if you want to join me there for coffee and a discussion of the budget, that's where I'll be from 9:30 to 10 this Saturday morning. With that, we are going to move into closed session. And in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.087, Economic Development, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We will return.
You had all that credit.
Smart man.
I really thought the police.
Am I still
were gonna
live?
Escort him out. That was close.
Just need a little- that's it.
Council, is there any action to be taken?
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by voting.
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Yay.
It is 8:07.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. You're good.